Good morning, Ottawa.
Bon matin, Ottawa. Welcome to the AWS Summit in Ottawa. This is our first summit in the National Capital Region since 2019. And we're excited that you're joining us in person. Mon nom est Régent Bourgault et je suis le directeur national du secteur public pour AWS au Canada.
And I'm Kirsten Robinson, the federal government leader for AWS Canada. Thank you so much for choosing to spend the day with us today. We have 1,000 people here this morning from across public and private sectors. You'll learn directly from many of these organizations in more than 20 hands-on workshops where they will share their knowledge, experience, and insights with you. You'll also learn from dozens of AWS experts and from organizations in our ecosystem like Amazon Business, which helps teams of all sizes with simpler, faster, better supply purchasing.
The reason we can offer this opportunity to so many people at no cost is thanks to our sponsor, who have contributed to make this event possible. So I'd like to thank our global sponsor. I also would like to thank our platinum sponsor, our gold, silver, and exhibitor sponsor. It's been a while since we've been together in person, so we wanted to start by taking a quick look back before we look ahead. We've been on an amazing journey with organizations and enterprise across Canada, and we're seeing fantastic momentum. Tens of thousands of Canadian organizations are building and experimenting on AWS, running every imaginable workload in every possible industry, including financial services, where Bank of Montreal, or BMO, is using AWS to power its highly security-sensitive transformation into the cloud-first organization.
To power your innovation, we're making investments across Canada. AWS launched its first region in Montreal in 2016. Since then, we've invested $1.4 billion to empower organizations and businesses. By 2037, we plan to invest an additional $21 billion with our infrastructure, services, and team development. And to support this growth and to support you, we are continuing to grow our teams. We now have 2,800 full-time employees in Ottawa, Montreal, Toronto, Vancouver, and across the country.
A major part of our investment is even more infrastructure to meet your needs. We are very excited about this new AWS West Calgary region. It comes online in late 2023 into early 2024, complete with 3 availability zones, just like our current region in Montreal. The new region will provide even more flexibility for organizations that need to store and process data within Canada. It will also reduce latency for end users in Western Canada, powering even faster innovation.
And we're also bringing 2 new AWS local zones to Toronto and Vancouver. Local zones bring AWS compute, storage, and databases, along with other services even closer to you for applications that require single-digit millisecond latency. We also have 3 content distribution edge locations or points of presence, 1 in Toronto, 2 in Montreal, and another in Vancouver. Our infrastructure investments are unparalleled in Canada, and we're excited about the opportunities that this will create for our customers go forward.
And when we think about the future, we're thinking about the planet itself. In 2019, Amazon co-founded the Climate Pledge, our commitment to be net zero carbon across our business by 2040. That's 10 years ahead of the Paris Agreement. And in 2020, Amazon became the world's largest corporate purchaser of renewable energy, reaching 65% renewable energy across all our business. And in 2021, Amazon announced its first renewable energy projects in Canada, 2 solar farms in Alberta that will generate 80 and 375 megawatts. We're committed to and invest in sustainability because it's good for the planet, good for cloud users, and good for our future generation.
And helping you become more sustainable is just one of the ways that we're partnering with teams like yours. Since our start in 2006, AWS has been laser focused on innovating for and with our customers across Canada. In fact, 90% of our 200+ services were created in response to you telling us exactly what you need. That's significantly more than what any other cloud service provider currently offers. A key part of this innovation is helping scientists make pioneering advancements in research. It's helping accelerate the time to insights through global collaboration, contributing to breakthroughs in areas from climate change to food security to drug discovery and healthcare. For instance, the University of British Columbia's Cloud Innovation Centre, or CIC, collaborated with researchers as part of the Ceratus project and identified 9 new coronaviruses in just 11 days. The supercomputer that they built on AWS searched nearly 6 million publicly available biological samples in less than 2 weeks, changing how bioinformatics can be done. This will improve diagnostic testing and vaccine development and could help to prevent and predict the next pandemic.
To innovate at this speed and scale, it's essential to think big. This reminds me of a story about the US Space Shuttle, and I love this story. If you look at the Space Shuttle, you'll notice 2 big booster rockets attached to the side. The rockets need to generate maximum thrust. To make this happen, they need to be as wide as possible. But in trying to increase the width, they ran into a surprising limitation. To get to the launch site, the booster rocket has to travel by train. But across the US, like much of Canada, train tracks are only 144 centimeters wide. These standards come from the first railways built in England. Those railways were built to match the width of wagons. And those wagons were built to roll on roads that were first made to fit the wheels of Roman chariots. The chariots were built to fit the width of 2 war horses, which just happened to be 144 centimeters. And so, as you can see, a significant design feature of the Space Shuttle was influenced by the width of 2 horses more than 2,000 years ago. So when you look at business processes and technology, there are often many constraints. And the reason for these constraints can date back to decisions made many, many years before. That's why it's so important that when you make the decision about the cloud today, you make the right ones. Because you don't know what the future holds, and you want to be ready.
And we know that cloud readiness is top of mind across public and private sectors. And as we move into the next normal after COVID, the way that we work, learn, and interact within our communities has changed, and so have our expectations. People now expect the same world-class technology from their governments or from their healthcare providers that they get when they log into Netflix or when they shop online. But even as public and private sectors adopt new technologies, 70% of government officials still say that they are lagging behind their business peers. So our first keynote speaker has worked tirelessly to close this gap. During his 25-year tenure in public service, he's led digital transformation across a wide variety of teams. So Alexa, can you help me welcome onto the stage Sean Roche?
Please welcome to the stage Sean Roche, Director of National Security at AWS.
Merci Réjeanne, merci Christian. Bonjour à toi, bonjour Canada, c'est bon d'être ici. Je m'appelle Sean Roche et je suis directeur de la sécurité nationale pour le secteur public AWS. Thank you, Rajan. Thank you, Kirsten. Good morning, Ottawa. It's great to be here. Good morning, Canada. My name is Sean Roach, and I serve as the Director of National Security in AWS's public sector. Premier, before I begin, very important, I just want to say how honored I am to be on stage today in this traditional unceded territory of the Algonquin Nation, to continue to celebrate their evolving heritage and culture, and to be in this beautiful city. So I'm going to start with the theme. Faites confiance, mais vérifiez. Trust, but verify. Now, during my 27 years at the CIA, the Central Intelligence Agency, that's a phrase that came up a lot. And as we think about what people expect in the public sector from the services they expect, we see that that's a very good theme and a very good way of thinking about what we must convey. And today, I'd like to use that as a theme in my discussion, that we want to build trust in you that you can lead this transformational change in your organizations. We want to build trust that AWS would be the best partner to help you do that, but we want to do more. We want to give you examples and stories, and most important, the verification of hearing from your colleagues in the Canadian public sector as they tell their stories of how they made transformation happen. So I got to tell you, at CIA, my background was never an IT or comp sci person. So when I was asked to give up a leadership of a foreign assignment to lead a digital transformation, I got to tell you, my first response was, this was in 2015, I said, well, why me? Why are you picking this guy? And what I learned very quickly was that this was not an IT transformation. Digital transformation was actually our need to transform the way we did the mission, not only at the Central Intelligence Agency, but across the US intelligence community. Now, this transformation continues, and what moving to cloud will give you is the ability for sustained transformation in your organizations. I found that we were actually able to accelerate our ability to change the mission and to accomplish more, but we had to have the right digital infrastructure. So throughout your careers in public service, you're continually being asked to do more and more with less, or with the same. And COVID certainly has amplified the demands of constituents who now seek instant digital gratification where they are, whenever they need it, secure, and in any circumstance. So over the next 45 minutes, 2 AWS customers will join me on stage to provide that verification, and share their own stories of how we can help leaders in the public sector deliver and drive missions forward. So we all need at least one easy button. We need several easy buttons to get our jobs done. The cloud is that easy button. It was stunning to me how much it eliminated time and how much it sped the ability to deliver new mission across the intelligence community. So no matter how much budget you have, you can't buy more time. You need more time. The people you serve with need more time, and it's the greatest thing you can deliver for them. With hyperscale cloud, you can scale up or scale down when you need to, without buying hardware, waiting for delivery, waiting for additional process. Everything is a programmable resource, literally with the click of a button. So a story. At CIA, we went to a meeting with the director in the morning, and we listened to mission colleagues with a very harrowing immediate need, a very large problem. And it had a very pressing timeline. So we had been working with AWS for a couple years, and we said, let's call them in and see what they can do. So we made that call, and within 2 days, the AWS team was back and demoed 3 different ways that we could possibly apply new solutions. These are solutions they were working on that we weren't even aware of. And they offered 3 demos of different ways they could solve the problem. And with a little bit of tweaking, taking direction from us. They also did something very important. They asked me a lot of questions, deep questions, which we refer to as working backwards, about the problem and about the environment and about the mission outcomes we wanted to achieve. So the bottom line is, in less than a week, we were able to address the critical need of our mission partners for a time-sensitive requirement that in years past I would have thought we would never get to. Now, in my time with AWS, I'm seeing that innovation engine running behind the scenes. And for instance, in 2021, AWS created over 3,000 new services and features in just 2021. So one thing about today is we'd love to get a challenge from you. If you work for AWS, one of the best things you can bring back to your organization is a really tough challenge for a customer. So the next thing we're going to talk about is delivering an environment. Less and less of our time is going to be in convenient environments. So we're continuing to deliver capability that moves outside of, I'll call it, brick and mortar, and into the hands of customers. So we do all that, and we connect around the world with the AWS low latency, very high quality, very secure, fully redundant, 100 gigabit per second secure network that carries all of our traffic around the world between 26 regions, 84 availability zones, and 32 local zones. And I'm very excited that in early 2024, another region will be added, and that's Canada West. So this is one of those outreaches that goes into the customer space, into an organization that has a requirement to remain on-prem. Now, this is an outpost, and when you really look at it, it looks like a hardware solution, but it's not. It has a hardware front end, an interface, but it's really a fully managed service that allows organizations to stay on-prem but start taking advantage of native cloud services from their on-prem location. Pushing a little farther, we have a group called the Snow family. These are man-portable devices in various sizes that do both compute and cloud computing at the edge, compute storage at the edge. Now, I brought one today. This is a cloud snow cone. So this is an actual device. So we're pretty proud of this. Recently, Cloud Snow Cone was deployed to the International Space Station. And because they had cloud compute and storage at the edge in space, they were able to perform mission analysis during the mission instead of sending data back and forth, instead of waiting, and they were able to do it in real time. Now, you know, the Canada a bon programme spatial. Canada has a fantastic space program. Canada was first in space for many things. Canada was the first country to have space radar satellite. Canada was the first partner with the US on the space shuttle, and you heard the space shuttle mentioned earlier. And Canada was the first partner on the International Space Station. So some of the folks in the audience may be familiar with what it takes to get something man-rated for space. From the time the requirement came up to the time it was approved by NASA for flight on the International Space Station was 7 months. Because these devices are built rugged and built for the field. So earlier this year, as Ukraine faced imminent invasion from Russia, AWS was helped to help the country preserve critical data during this tragic time. So we moved that data using Snowball. Moving the data is helping Ukrainians continue their lives despite the current circumstance. Now, it's allowing scientists to continue to pursue their research. It's allowing students to continue to pursue their education. It's allowing banking, the largest bank in Ukraine, to continue operating. And most importantly, it's allowing citizens to prove ownership of land, and it allows reconstruction when the war ends. The effort has earned AWS the Ukrainian Peace Prize. We're very humbled and proud to do what we can to help. Thank you. So, data is the new asset. Data is the growing asset. Data is the value asset. So the question is, how can we help get the most out of the data you have? Not only the current data you're collecting, but the data from the past. The cloud opens up the opportunity to turn data into an asset. giving you precise knowledge that allows you to tailor and increase the value for constituents. Let's talk about some of the ways we do that. What we have to have is a modern data strategy. That data strategy is composed of 3 components: moderniser, unifier, et innover. Modernize, unify, and innovate. These are the pillars. Let's talk about how we do that. First, modernize. You deserve more choices. The traditional legacy approach was often one size fits all. One database to handle many different tasks, trying to adapt it. The key is to give you purpose-built database solutions that allow you as much choice as possible. Choice means performance, choice means flexibility, choice means speed to mission. An example of this is CanImmunize, which I'm sure many of you are very familiar with. This helps Canadians schedule and keep apps for their vaccinations available anytime, anywhere, and it's driven down and reduced the time to vaccination by 50% using Amazon RDS to optimize performance. Another example, Fort St. John. So this city of Fort St. John worked with smart city supplier CocoFlow, as well as AWS partner OpsGuru, to create an application that brought the capabilities of the municipality into the hands of the citizen and stored all the data on AWS, located in Canada, backed up in Canada. Finally, unify. Freeing the data from compute and decoupling it from storage allows ultimate flexibility with the data sets and ability to combine data sets. Structured and unstructured data can be set up in a data lake that allows multiple choice. And again, it's all about giving you options at speed. And this can be done in days instead of weeks. So innovate. When you look at data, what we're able to do with it, AWS can provide the widest range of tools that allow you to gain insights you've never had before out of that data. And with a broader set of analytics, AI and ML services for where builders of all levels of expertise can be effective. Dans le monde de Grand Gretzky, the great one, in the words of the great one, Wayne Gretzky, AWS helps you skate to where the puck will be, not where it's been. Accelerating research. Timed to science is a key measure for research. And now, after COVID, everyone's looking at research methods, especially in medicine, to speed that. But one thing that's essential is increasing collaboration across departments, institutions, and geographic boundaries. Université Laval in Quebec City, they needed a secure and legally compliant way to share hundreds of gigabytes of data with other institutions. They worked with AWS and AWS partner AWS partner Unicorn Powered on Project Quorum to create a web app that has been used by multiple stakeholders, taking different approaches while making personally identifiable information anonymous and meeting that compliant need. Canada's first open and fully online university, Athabasca University, created Idealab. Working with AWS and AWS partner Ronin, it enables collaborative and creative research designs from multiple perspectives. It allows researchers to leverage AWS services, including AI/ML, quantum computing, and natural language processing. So, security. From the time I joined the military at age 17 in the United States, protecting secrets has been a focus in my life. At the CIA, where I was leading the digital directorate, I had the honor of having the teams that were responsible for securing worldwide top secret network that held the CIA's data, as well as the teams that conducted CIA's cyber espionage mission. Both teams, next to each other. So security of the cloud is a conversation I enjoy having very much. And I will assure you that each day I am more convinced that on its weakest day, the AWS cloud is more secure than a legacy solution. Security is our top priority. It's job zero. Every single employee of AWS is working security, ensuring that systems are resilient so you continue to serve your citizens in your community. At AWS, we're architected to the most flexible and secure cloud computing environment to give you options for your control requirements, including more than 500 features and services for security and compliance. So specifically, we continue to invest in Canada to help you meet Canadian-specific compliance and security requirements and make your adoption of services simpler. So security is a major priority for our first guest speaker. Now, Shared Services Canada was created in 2011 to transform Government of Canada digital infrastructure and services. This mandate came with the freedom to work both public and private organizations to deliver secure, scalable, and flexible IT infrastructure services. That's a pretty big task. It requires an individual with vision, technical acumen, steadfast leadership, and I'd personally offer a big dose of tenacity. So, Alexa, can you please help me welcome our first guest speaker?
Please welcome to the stage, Sonny Perrone, President, Shared Services Canada.
Good morning, bon matin. Well, I was ready to run in the other direction when I heard Sean describing what it needs to run Shared Service Canada, so I'm a bit nervous about following this statement. I'm happy if you believe half of what he said about me and what we need to do. So I'm really glad to be here. Bonjour tout le monde, bonjour Ottawa. S'il y a des gens de services partagés dans la salle, j'aimerais ça vous entendre parce qu'on m'a dit qu'il y en aurait plusieurs ce matin. Est-ce qu'il y en a vraiment? Shared service? Good. Thank you. And from friends, from partners, from vendors that work with us all the time, thank you to be there. So today what I want to talk to you about, and I need to click that thing, I believe, is talking about a little bit about Shared Service Canada, but folks, you in Ottawa already know us, so I won't spend too much time on that. Our journey to the cloud is what matters, and why enterprise approach to it makes sense and is important. So this is where I want to spend some time. So you've heard Sean talking about the security preoccupation. This is top of mind for us at Shared Service Canada. I know it's top of mind for all of you in the room. If some do not believe that security is important, hopefully by the end of the day today you will be. So a little bit about Shared Service Canada, created a little bit more than 10 years ago with a mandate to consolidate the network infrastructure of the Government of Canada, including around 700 data centers. Trying to net this all together, make sure we have solid security features around it so we are all protected and could do our business and, more importantly, serve Canadians with reliability, with consistency. So this is what Shared Service Canada was created for. Someone yesterday told me, maybe with the cloud, you're not really relevant anymore. But I think it's totally the opposite. If we want to leverage the potential of the cloud, we need to be even more organized because we cannot suffer security issue. We need to secure our access to the cloud. We need to keep our eyes on the ball. Trust, but verify. This is the message from Sean before. C'est mon message aussi. Et vous avez un partenaire à travers le gouvernement du Canada, avec Services Partagés Canada. Notre job, c'est to trust, establish the requirement, but verify. And if we can automate some of these verification, it's even better. We all feel more comfortable that we are using these solutions that enable us to offer better services, but with some control over it. So I want to talk to you about one example that for me was kind of galvanizing my thinking about where the cloud fits into our agenda. It's Vaccine Connect. During the pandemic, early on, our colleagues from the Public Health Agency of Canada needed a solution to coordinate the distribution of vaccine throughout the country. Of course, we did not build the solution years ago because we did not anticipate that kind of crisis and we did not know what the tools needed. But beauty is with cloud is that we can go fast, we can be agile, we can think as we build, and this is what happened with Vaccine Connect. So a partnership, of course, with the Public Health Agency of Canada, colleagues from IBM, colleagues from Deloitte, and hosted by AWS. allowed to stand up that solution that will allow to coordinate the distribution, to monitor the use and make sure that the supply will get to the right place. So this was done in a very short term. And the reliance on Shared Service Canada was for the broker services that we offer. In fact, our job started years ago, back in 2018, where we established our broking services and qualify a number of cloud vendors, including AWS, that fits within the Government of Canada's standards about where the data should reside, how it should be secure, and the requirements for all these vendors. So all of you in federal department and agencies, and even outside, because we provide this service sometimes to provincial government and other institutions in Canada, can trust that these have been checked and put in place with the vendors that have been qualified. This is our job. Then the job for you is to develop the application and run on it. So we are in the infrastructure, but here's the infrastructure solution. Before, it was much more hard infrastructure like data center that we are in. So I wanted to talk to you about Vaccine Connect because this is an example done fast, agility. Probably when the team started to design, they did not know what will be the end product, but they knew the requirement. And the cloud environment allowed this to happen. So our enterprise approach to this. So first, SSC put in place the requirement, not alone with Treasury Board, which is the policy owner, with Canadian Security Establishment that help us to see here's the features that need to be around to make sure we get it right. And then we went to market and qualified a number of vendors and validate. And validate at the beginning and continuously validate, not only the vendor, but how we are putting workload on this and make sure it works. So we do it once, well for all, and then we set in place, hopefully, automated process that allows to verify all the time. So this works. It has worked for the core network of Government of Canada. It can work with the cloud. Cloud is not outside. In fact, cloud and the network is an ecosystem that we need to keep safe and integrated. So SSC by number, we are 7,000 employees here, serving 43 departments, sometimes much more than that because some clients that are not mandatory clients comes to us and want these services. You may have heard in recent past that we are extending the service to other organizations that were not served by us in the future. So there is value in our service, in the core services, the infrastructure services, and there will be value in what we do for the cloud. What we do for the cloud is to think about how we extend that network and this ecosystem so we can leverage the cloud. We can make sure that the communication between the cloud and workload on-prem is secured, because the cloud is not operating separately. There is a lot of dependency. Most of the application, most of the function that we have in the GOC in the cloud depend on some workload that are on-prem. So this interaction between the various environments is very important. So it's why we have built a secure connection with some control around it. So at all time, we keep our eyes on it from a security perspective and can take action if there is a problem. We also keep an eye on the setup that is being created, like 43 departments leveraging the cloud. We can end out with a spread, but there is some standard that have been established with our colleagues from central agencies, but here's how this should be done in order to keep all of us safe. So this is still enterprise. So SSC enabled the adoption because we have the broking services. SSC enabled the adoption because we have built what we call secure cloud connection and defense. So we verify and control the interaction between the environment. SSC assists with technical advice, with identification of best way to integrate traditional on-prem workload that will have to depend and be connected to on-cloud application. SSC is investing right now on talent management. So we have a program to develop staff internally for us to provide the support for those who will be using cloud, but many of the departments are coming to us and wants to get their team trained as well, because we have a long journey. This is not where most of our workforce are, so we need to invest collectively in there. Going forward, colleagues, friends, partner, cloud computing is for us a way to extend our service, our capacity. In fact, it will be easier if we were all starting with greenfield and we did not have legacy, but we will be conveying this greenfield with us, this legacy with us for a long time. So we need to make all this work together. We need to look at new ways also to build on the cloud. Right now, we think about cloud or on-prem. In fact, hybrid is the real reality. It's rarely one or the other. But we need to start to explore, is there a space, and Sean talked about that a bit earlier, about private cloud on-prem. We may have security workload that needs that. We need to get better and try to determine what should be where in the cloud. We need to accommodate maybe some of our users, and I'm thinking about colleagues from various departments here, in particular the science department, where our researchers are generating tons of data. This will have to be somewhere. It will have to be compute. And frankly, traditional infrastructure doesn't do the work. And I have to say, we haven't served well that community for years. Now it's pressing. So this is the future. So if you were questioning, is there still a role for Shared Service Canada? I think there is a role for all of us to rethink the way we approach the need for infrastructure, the need for solution, and make sure that we are steady focused on security because there is great potential in the cloud. And my sense is that what we know about the cloud today from the various cloud vendors, including the partner today, AWS, we just seen the beginning of that. There will be more options, more opportunities that we can bring together things that we never thought in the past because the capacity is there. So it's up to us to be creative. And it's up to us to be good partners. Donc, je vous invite tous à continuer à travailler, à imaginer dans vos organisations comment on peut prendre avantage du cloud. Soyez pas limités par rapport à ce que vous connaissez aujourd'hui sur les façons qu'on a travaillé, le fait que vous avez des dépendances sur les infrastructures. Pensez ouvertement, on est là à Service Partagé Canada pour travailler avec vous, to work with you to figure out how we can best leverage what we built in the past and connect it to what we want to do in the future. So this is my intervention for you this morning. Thank you for the invitation. And welcome, have a great learning day. And I think I'm inviting Sean back on the stage. So Sean, please come back. You're way more interesting and bright than me, and I don't have to describe your pedigree. I think folks in the room have figured that out. So thank you very much, everybody. Welcome back, Sean.
Thank you, Sonny. So, you know, in the national security community, we always talk about how secret and classified our data is and how much it needs to be protected, and that's all true. But some of the most secure data in the world is healthcare data. And AWS can help you meet or exceed the compliance requirements and at the same time improve patient care. There's a great example of this. A hospital system in Ontario, 7 hospitals across 14 sites worked with AWS partner Deloitte to do something that's never been done anywhere in the world, another Canadian first, to host Epic EHRs, electronic health records, running on alternative production on AWS. Another first for Canada, something that hasn't been done anywhere else in the world. So all of this is interesting and important and vital to our missions, but none of it matters if we're not taking care of our planet. So at AWS, we continue a path to power our operations with 100% renewable energy. And right now we're on track to do that by 2025, which is 5 years ahead of our original commitment of 2030. Now when we had an independent assessment by 451 Research of our data centers. It showed that they were on average 3.6 times more energy efficient than a typical data center. And I'll give you some specifics. Running a workload in an AWS cloud is typically 88% lower carbon footprint overall. You can calculate, vérifier, you can calculate your carbon footprint using the customer carbon footprint tool available to all free, no cost in the AWS console. AWS, the cloud, also, some of the problems we have to solve in an environment are incredibly complex. Company CarbonCure in Halifax is decreasing the carbon footprint of concrete and construction, which is a major contributor to carbon. And they've been able to design smart concrete buildings, smart structures using carbon CO2 injection for the life cycle of the building to reduce overall impact on the environment. Amazon has a sustainability data initiative, and the purpose here is to make hundreds of data sets available at no cost. The purpose is to accelerate sustainability research for all and innovation for all. And each quarter, AWS releases more of these sustainability data sets. AWS commitment to Canada goes well beyond infrastructure and security. We invest in the most important resource you have, Canadians. Upskilling and reskilling people, citizens, students, and more through cloud computing education programs. Since 2013, AWS has helped train more than 100,000 Canadians in cloud computing. We have multiple programs to do this. One of the things we get people interested in that I want to plug is the Digi series in several different disciplines. Digi Health for clinicians, Digi Security for security professionals. Now, the best part about this program is these are taught by Canadian professionals outside of AWS to Canadian citizens. Digi Health is taught by pros from Western University. Digi Secure is taught by Canadian Center for Cybersecurity. I also want to give a plug for Deep Racer. You see it outside. If you've got some competitive spirit, it will be well rewarded here by participating with Deep Racer. Now, some of the programs we have, we start with AWS Restart. AWS Restart is a 12-week program focused on unemployed, underemployed, and in-transition workers to get them the cloud skills they need to contribute. Now, I'm very particularly proud of Plato, which is Canada's only Indigenous-led, Indigenous IT staff services training firm that conducts and runs this program and is working with BMO Financial Group to run the program and create programs for internships. So finally, AWS Educate, this is a global initiative to provide students and educators with the resource they need to accelerate learning. Now, you can check all of these materials out for free, the self-paced training and labs, without even having to create an AWS account. So at this point, I'd like to set the stage for our final speakers, who will share their story about how cloud technology enabled them to scale their contact centers during a time of crisis to accomplish both their main mission and everything else that was before them needed by the citizens of Canada. So it's become a very familiar story that during the pandemic, public services met with the greatest challenge they've ever had, and many in the United States failed to deliver the level of service they wanted, the level of service they knew they needed. Canada Revenue Agency's response was very, very unique, very impressive, in my words, brilliant. They had millions of Canadian citizens apply for and need relief benefits to be processed at the very same time of peak business in the tax year when they needed to get their mission accomplished. They made a pretty amazing pivot, and they got that pivot into the hands of their contact centers in the field where they're interfacing with customers, the ones who had the immediate need and the need the most. It's my pleasure to share the stage with the creative genius behind CRA's successful management of this immense workload during crisis, a moment that I'm sure no one had a plan book ready to go for, but they were very, very successful. So Alexa, would you please help me introduce our next speakers?
Please welcome to the stage Michael Han Koop, Director General of Contact Center Services Directorate at Canada Revenue Agency, and Jean-Nic Gaudin, Director General of Debt Management, Regulatory Affairs, and Appeals Directorate at Canada Revenue Agency.
Good morning, everyone.
Hello, everybody.
Yeah,
it's
good morning.
so nice to see you all here. Thank you, Sean, for introducing us, and Alexa. We're curious, who here knows someone that actually applied for the Canadian Emergency Response Benefit, as known as CERB?
There's a few of them out there, Jeanette. That's a few. Which makes only sense. It was an extremely huge endeavor on behalf of the federal government to get financial assistance out to Canadians in a time of need. And Jeanette and I are here today to tell you our part of the story.
So I'm here to represent the IT side of this story.
And I'm here to represent the business side, a little IT business cooperation here in terms of telling our story around the CRA contact centers and how we work together to pull off what has been called on the title slide, a bureaucratic miracle. Let me set the stage a little bit, and Sean hit on some of these points as well. You know, the pandemic happened during our peak season, which I know is all of your favorite time of season as well, tax time, I know. But for CRA contact centers, we were already sort of in the midst of a stressful time. We were inundated with millions of phone calls from Canadians who are also stressed out, trying to get their taxes done on time and without any mistake.
So when the pandemic was declared, we basically frantically moved into business continuity mode, and we had to dispatch IT equipment over the country to 2,000 employees that could answer and call the calls from Canadians all over, and work from home. So working in tandem with our business partners, the security areas, the IT teams, we were able to organize pickups and drop-offs to offices all across the country. And the CRA employees demonstrated tremendous tenacity, creativity during this crisis, and finding old equipment all over, and so people could be there to actually answer calls for Canadians.
Mm-hmm. So just a few weeks into our mass migration from bricks and mortar call sites to home-based work, this area was asked and tasked to help deliver financial assistance to Canadians, called the Canadian Emergency Response Benefit, or CERB, as I think most of us know it by, in terms of delivering these important economic benefits to Canadians. It was a massive undertaking across many government agencies, and the hope at the time had been that many Canadians, or most Canadians, would apply online. But we also knew that many Canadians wanted to or needed to call us to apply for those same benefits.
So then we asked ourselves, where would we find this immense number of extra call agents? Well, this is where the CRA Army got called in.
So what's behind me here is essentially our footprint at the time. This is us before the pandemic. We essentially had 8 bricks and mortar sites across Canada, roughly about 2,000 employees who would handle calls from Canadians, and at this time it would have been tax calls. But we knew that given the spread of the pandemic, the more and more restrictive public health measures which were being put in place, that we would need a lot more call agents to handle the tsunami of calls that we knew were coming our way. So a call to action was issued to all employees within the Canada Revenue Agency, and we went from looking like that to this. With thousands of agents across Canada, we essentially went from 2,000 call agents pre-pandemic to 7,000 or over 7,000 agents afterwards. And I can't tell you how proud I was of our internal employees who rose to the occasion, many of who have never spoken to a member of public. They either worked in HR or maybe was a tax auditor or something like that, but we thrust them on the phone to help citizens get the financial assistance in which they really needed. But having so many extra call agents on the phone kind of created another significant problem which we had to deal with.
So with the enormous volume of incoming calls and the large number of call agents, our CRA on-prem contact center solution was struggling. So that is when we had to be creative. So there was no way that we could actually increase the capacity of our on-prem solution just overnight. So we had to sort of think outside the box. And luckily, CRA, with the cloud adoption, strategy, and all the IT investment it had already made, it allowed us to basically pick up the phone and call AWS. With the amazing collaboration of our Cloud Center of Expertise, our contact center IT teams, we needed help from AWS to spin off an on-class contact centers that was outside of the box, that could handle all the CERB calls coming in, which were non-account specific, and that really helped distribute all the loads, the tsunami of calls across the multiple platform. But that meant using a hybrid model, which Sunny mentioned earlier. We were able to leverage the existing on-prem and the cloud-based call center solution. So as you can see, our partnership with AWS really came through. We were able to put in place a call center in roughly 48 hours, basically over a weekend, allowing the CRA agents to handle thousands of calls. I won't spill the beans with the numbers. I'll let Michael share those a little later. But this really helped offloading a significant volume of on-prem hosted platform, as we were also in tax season, right? It was the perfect storm. And it really made a difference in our service delivery to Canadians in these really difficult times. So the moral of this story is that here with AWS, the cloud-based contact center solution, it provided the CRA an instrumental platform on which we were able to onboard 5,000 agents answering call and delivering service to Canadians almost overnight.
It truly was an extraordinary effort by all, and it couldn't have been done without the excellent partnership and collaboration between the CRA and the AWS teams. You know, the headlines here, there's a few snippets from headlines at the time, and I got to tell you that, you know, as coming from your, you know, federal tax agency, these are not the normal headlines that we usually get, you know, especially at tax time. And I can't tell you that I've never been more proud to be a public servant. You know, really, you know, in the first month alone of handling the incoming calls for CERB applications, we helped more than 7 million Canadians in the first month alone. And we kept doing that month after month after month for almost a year or a little bit over a year, you know, for, you know, while the benefit was still in existence. I also want to tell you about Julian. Julian was one of our volunteer call agents. And, you know, Julian, he told me that he couldn't walk away from the phone because he knew his friends, his neighbors, citizens from all across Canada were in desperate need. I think that day, the first day he was working on it, he took almost 200 calls in a single day. He said, I just couldn't walk away when there are people who needed my assistance. And again, it just makes me feel so proud to be a public servant. Now, I'll admit that not everything went rosy. I mean, there were long wait times, and there was, you know, anyways, our fair share of challenges. But I have to say, all in all, both our volunteer army, plus the new AWS system, responded extremely well in this unprecedented situation. But I do want to pause and simply recognize that, you know, and again, this is a group of mainly public servants, and I just want to recognize that I know there's many of you out there as well who did extraordinary efforts as well during the pandemic in support of Canadians, and I just want to thank you as well for your service as well.
So the experience was not only gratifying and challenging at the same time, it also really got us thinking about the future of the contact center. And at the CRA, we call it the CRA Contact Center Next Generation. But first, we needed to learn how to walk. So when the CRA IT branch decided to adopt a multi-cloud strategy in 2018, it wasn't without the knowledge and understanding that that would meant requiring significant level of efforts, upskilling, strategic foresight, while aligning with the GOC cloud strategy. So CRA actually has a large and complex application portfolio. It has over 665 applications. 90% of those are enterprise level at the protected B medium. So it is significant. And it was evident at that time that a hybrid model would be required. And the use of pathfinders to learn the mean of how to develop and actually operate in the cloud would be key. So you see behind me the example of a hybrid cloud topology using the CRA AWS IaaS, Infrastructure as a Service, connecting to our on-prem via a secure cloud enablement and defense trusted interconnection, SCED, as many of you know. So why am I sharing and showing this to you? Well, this hybrid cloud architecture actually will be used to run a cloud-based service called Progress Tracker. What is that? This is to provide the ability for Canadians to actually see the progression of their tax and benefit service requests and understand where their request is in that timeline. It also is displaying on the call agent desktops the exact same request details so they can better help and support the Canadian. I showed you this topology because it to also bring the awareness of the feasibility, but also the complexity of the hybrid, however, well worth the efforts and the business value that it will bring to the CRA, allowing us to learn, so now we can start jogging. And these cloud-based solutions, such as this one, using AWS, is bringing us closer to a seamless service experience.
I got to say, I'm glad Janik knows what this diagram means here. I just need the phone to ring. That's all I need to have happen. But so the whole pandemic experience basically has got us thinking and preparing for kind of what the future of service delivery means for the Canada Revenue Agency. And it's very clear to us now that cloud will be sort of a foundational piece to help us improve service to Canadians in the future. It'll also be a key enabler to what we call our People's First philosophy. Again, kind of extending kind of our pandemic experience and how we can provide multiple service points or entry points to Canadians no matter what their needs are and kind of what their preference is in terms of service, that we'll have an integrated service channel to guide them through to get what they need from us. We firmly believe that if citizens can feel more empowered, more supported, they will in turn be better prepared to comply with their tax obligations or to better receive the benefits in which they are entitled to. The slide behind us here kind of talks about some of those service channels, and we're working with AWS right now on a Pathfinder project to build a new CRA online chat function where Canadians can essentially click on a widget on our website, get connected to a CRA service representative in the background, and have a text conversation without the need to call. This will soon be connected to our chatbot, and they'll provide a more seamless journey across the technology.
So including learning and building on our cloud infrastructure and services, using contact center Pathfinder projects to help us plan and prepare for our contact center next generation so we can learn how to run.
Well, as we said before, both Jeannick and I couldn't be more proud for our experience during the pandemic and the opportunity to help Canadians who are in need of financial assistance. And we want to take that same spirit of innovation, that same spirit of partnership, and carry it forward in terms of delivering critical services to Canadians in the future as well. Thank you for your attention today, and I'd like to welcome Sean back to the stage.
Thank you, Jeannick, and thank you, Michael. Okay, we're going to close this out. It's been a great day so far, and it's going to be a great summit. So there's an awful lot to learn, and we encourage all of you to use this time to challenge us and to learn. And in conclusion, we hope we've inspired you today to build solutions for your organizations. And je dois aussi m'excuser pour mon français, qui j'ai mal parlé. La famille de ma mère a immigré du Canada aux États-Unis en 1919. Je me suis donc obligé de parler la langue. I must also apologize for my French, which I did poorly. My mom's family, part of them immigrated from Canada to the United States in 1919. I've always felt an obligation to speak the language. And maintenant, il est temps de dîner. Une question. Où puis-je trouver le meilleur poutine à Ottawa? And now it is time for lunch, and I only have one question left for Canada. Where can I find the best poutine in Ottawa? Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much. Vive la Canada!